Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the inaugural episode of One-on-One Conversations at Menopause Science. My name is Jyoti Sharma. I'm a health sciences researcher, CEO, and founder of Tara Cares. Tara Cares is a health tech startup addressing the global public health challenge of menopause with artificial intelligence. On Menopause Science, we aim to demystify misinformation on various aspects of menopause transition with research and science. We celebrate courageous women who are stepping forward to have a conversation with us on their personal experience with menopause as they aspire to help millions of women. By 2025, over 1 billion women will be in menopause transition. That is 12% of the world's population. At Tara Cares, we are working relentlessly to transform menopause care to be individualized, integrated, evidence-based, accessible, and affordable for all. Today, in our inaugural episode of Conversations with Women, we are proud to welcome and very grateful to welcome Anuradha Satpute. Anu, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jyoti, and a very, very warm good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to all our viewers, wherever you might be.
Thank you, Anu. Anu is head of culture and engagement with a proven track record of designing large-scale complex employee listening programs. She advises large global and diverse organizations on driving culture and engagement change to achieve key metrics of positive organizational performance. Her career includes working for large-scale organizations such as Gallup and EY, as well as startups like CultureAmp. Anu and I met when we were both working at EY. So before we get started, let me just go through our disclaimer. The participation in this session is voluntary with no commercial benefits to the company or the participant. Sole purpose of this session is to help women of all ages to prepare and manage for menopause transition. Data consent to record the session and air it on YouTube and other marketing channels have been granted by the participant, and that is Anu this morning.
Thank you.
So we will flow with the conversation. Here are some of the topics that we are going to cover. What did it feel like when Anu's GP informed her of early menopause when she was 39? We will go into discussing, was it really early for a woman of Indian origin? How have the last few years in transition to menopause affected her life? What was her physiological and emotional response to the changes that she was going through? And knowing Anu a little bit from our days at EY, I know she's a woman who takes ownership of the challenges that are in front of her. So I'm extremely excited to understand how she took ownership, what was that process like? Because that's what most of the women that we are working with through our research studies across the globe are going through. So Anu, that'd be amazing to hear from you what your experience was. And then finally, what questions still remain unanswered for her as a human being. So hopefully you will enjoy the session. And with that, let's get started. Right. So Anu, let me start by asking you, where were you in your life when your doctor, your GP, your gynecologist told you one fine day that you may be in menopause transition? What was happening in life when you were made aware of this?
I think that's a great first question to begin with, Jyoti, because I don't think you even realize where you are in life. I think the life can be quite overwhelming. I had a 6-year-old child. Career was going, in all honesty, pretty badly. Despite the fact that you're performing and you have a great job, what it does is you feel like there's an overload on your body and your mind. You're constantly tired. You are in a phase where you want to do more and more, but your body just doesn't, and your brain, more importantly, just does not support. I think the simple fact is you just don't know what's happening to you. You think you're tired, you think you're stressed, you think you need, help, but what help? Nobody knows. You can't even articulate that. And that is the brain fog, which I think is the worst bit of menopause. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one to suffer this way.
Not at all. I think the cognitive load that you talked about, the brain fog that you talked about, I think people go through brain fog at various stages in life, but it's becoming more pronounced because of the hormonal fluctuations that are happening within your body. So, and age is something that at least I have personally always embraced. I'm one who likes to get older. So for the viewers, I'm 43, and biologically my body is going through menopause transition as well. Anu, how old were you when you started experiencing these symptoms?
Late 30s. It was as early as late 30s when you realize you're constantly tired. You have really bad skin, and I mean, nobody wants bad skin at 39. Bad enough having it as a teenager, but nobody wants it at late 30s. Your brain just not there for you. It sort of feels like, the people you've known for years, you have a coffee and you suddenly like, what is his name that I'm talking to?
Yes. Yeah.
You suddenly have that.
Yeah, and that I think that will resonate with so many women. And just to emphasize on the point that there are individual differences in terms of someone's ethnicity and what their socioeconomic status is, what their reproductive health history has been when they start seeing these symptoms. And for our viewers, the average age, Anu is of Indian origin, I'm of Indian origin, the average age from existing research evidence is 45 for Indian women, while for women in the UK, it's 51. So if you think about that, the average transition period is 7 to 10 years. Experiencing these symptoms in your mid-30s is actually not early. But nobody wants to experience it because we are always told that, this is for the old woman. But here I'm speaking to women who are in their 20s, who are going through early menopause or premature menopause. So so thank you for sharing that. So it's actually not early, which, it's something my next guest is also of Indian origin and started experiencing this in her mid-30s. So it's, and that's what we try to do at Menopause Science, just help women understand that there is scientific evidence of what you are going through. So it's not abnormal.
I'm so glad you said that, because the word and the information and the medicine, the medical knowledge around it makes you feel that there's something really wrong with you. And I think that's a major block then that comes in your life. Something is wrong with me. I need to fix it.
Yeah, 100%. And since you touched now on the medical world, it's quite well known that there is lack of medical expertise, be it in the UK or across the globe. I mean, even in the UK, it was not until recently that young doctors were being taught about post-reproductive medicine. But the challenge we've got here is that there is so much practical experience that you need, is that even women who are naturally healthy like yourself are ending up with specialists instead of what we have here in primary care, the general physician, general practitioners. So I wanted to touch on something around how was it's a mixed bag. Some women have an amazing experience once they have found a specialist that listens to them and has the required expertise. How was your experience like with the healthcare system and providers? And for our viewers, Anu is based in London, in the UK. And she's of course in the UK. We have primary care, and then we have specialists that we go to. So Anu, what was your experience with the healthcare system here?
I think to begin with, it was a bit of a labyrinth, and terrible. I might be really honest and say terrible, because you think I would thought that I'm having a massive nervous breakdown. Getting to a GP is extremely hard. Everyone knows that in UK, and there are bigger reasons behind it. But what you really struggle with is the lack of knowledge at a GP level, at the primary care level, as you describe it. The first reaction is, do you need a sertraline, which, by the way, is an anti-anxiety medicine? Sertraline could help me because I did have anxiety, but it was one of the symptoms. That was not the cause of my problems. People want you to have vitamin D and iron tablets, which is all great, but they are tackling some of the very surface level symptoms rather than actual issues. I am not the one to sit back and take my problems lying down. I am a bit of a stubborn creature. I found a really good gynecologist. He was a brilliant man. I'm not going to take names, but he's a head of a department. at a major medical teaching college.
Yeah.
His reaction was to give me Prozac, which in hindsight was the worst thing I could have ever done. Prozac hurt my career more than anybody else could have ever done that. Because the amount of time it takes for your body to settle down with these medicines and cope up. I don't know if I am weird in that sense, and hopefully other people are a lot luckier than me, but Prozac meant for 3 to 4 months, I could not operate properly. And with a young child, that puts enormous amounts of pressure on a family. I have a small family, me, my husband, and my child, and it put serious pressure on her and my husband, to be in all honesty. We then, after years of muddling through that, I managed to meet a GP. She's a female GP, and her first reaction was, what nonsense is this happening to you? She did great levels of bloods. She's the one who started talking about, HRT. The specialist I went to talked about estrogen patches, but there's no telling me why estrogen patches. I'm a woman with some amount of experience in life. I'm not 13. You need to tell me why you're giving me that medication, what it's going to do for me. She really explained everything. And most importantly, she wasn't scared of HRT. By love of God, people seem to think HRT is like fentanyl or cocaine or whatever, that radical. It's not.
Yeah. That's that. You've touched on quite a few points there. Thinking that it's a labyrinth and that you are going through, a nervous breakdown. For our viewers, firstly, HRT is hormone replacement therapy, which is the gold standard to help cope with your symptoms. Not every woman wants to take it. Not every woman has to take it or can take it. But what is happening is because of the lack of experience in the medical community, there is a nervousness around it within the doctors. So they then don't appreciate the benefits that a woman can have with that. And we are actually, putting out videos. Our first one was on progesterone insensitivity, because when, similar to Anu, what you mentioned, when you're taking any medication, your body has to, adapt to it, and that takes time. Prozac, when you mentioned the anti-anxiety and antidepressants that were prescribed to you, again, for our viewers, the National Institute of Health and Care Excellence in the UK have published very clear menopause practice guidelines, which mention that antidepressants must not be given for menopause depression. So the question is that, this is preventable. The number of years of suffering, let alone the impact of those medications, not only on your lifestyle, but on your body, physiologically, this is preventable. But what we need is timely evidence and timely knowledge to be given. As you said, you are an educated woman, and I think our average woman would want to know why she's being given, what she's being given. It was quite insightful for me, when we were having our initial conversations, Anu, where you said that, menopause seems to be a clarifying experience. And you mentioned something that stayed with me, that you feel like you are growing, you're aging faster than other people. So you just can't take any nonsense in your life. And it just helped you, hone in into what was the most important thing in your life right now, and what is it that you wanted to do. I would love for you to touch on that journey a little bit with our viewers.
Absolutely. I think till I got to this phase in life, I was someone who was very happy with myself, with my life. I didn't have millions in the bank. I didn't have a C-level title. But I had everything I wanted. I had my freedom, I had my growth, I had my family, I had my ambitions. And my overwhelming ambition was to, go and find the 7 wonders of the world, ancient ones, not the modern ones. And I was very happy with it. I think what menopause teaches you, that what it is for your body and your mind to not be there for you 100% of the time. And I think tells you, it's not as fatal as it sounds, but what it does is it tells you that the time to live is today. Don't wait to get that £1 million in the bank. Don't wait for that title. And I think it's made me a lot more ambitious. I think I've got so much more ambitious about my career after that. I have taken major risks. People think
Right.
lunatic. I see myself as brave, and I know I'll end up far further than when I ever started. I think it's made me appreciate my husband a lot more. I think, a lot of one topic that women don't talk about is our sex lives.
Yeah.
And how many of us actually think about the value of that in our general broader physical and mental well-being? Our sex life went through a massive disruption. You suddenly feel bloated and ugly and miserable. I think I really realized the value of a strong relationship, whether it's marriage or whatever you might call it, in my life. My husband is really my rock. I think you really learn to mature in that relationship and understand who your friends are. And I think you learn the value of taking control of your life. Till then, you sort of listen to what the doctors tell you. But I think it gives you now an understanding that there are experts, but we own our lives and we have to take charge of finding out that knowledge and information. Google is not a substitute for knowledge. You've got to question and make sure that the answers add up.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, one of the many reasons I founded Tara Cares was to prevent women this struggle and this, Googling, and, there are medical advice being sent on TikTok. And, these are not scientifically validated information. So what it does is when you look at the scale of this challenge, in the US, there are 1.5 million women entering menopause transition or perimenopause every single year.
Wow.
And as I mentioned, by 2025, there'll be 1 billion women. So that's 12% of the world's population, which means that this, and the scale of the health challenge is increasing exponentially. So we need something more than traditional research and traditional medical expertise, which anyways is not there to start with in the measure that we require. And we are hoping that our solutions will provide you with the knowledge that you need, and it is scientifically validated, which will help you understand that, hey, when I go to my GP or my gynecologist, I know I shouldn't be given a Prozac, right? I know I shouldn't be given antidepressants. I know what my reproductive history, my medical history is, and what is it called in medical terms, contraindications of hormone replacement therapy. Because again, there is so much to know about, bioidentical hormones and synthetic hormones, and these are the things that we are hoping in a very short period of time to be able to, disseminate to women such as yourself, as well as I think what's important for us is to make it accessible and affordable. I mean, think about, you are an educated woman who's, comfortable in life and had the resources to go and do those searches, right? Had the resources to say, oh, okay, I can pay this doctor or I can pay another private specialist. But a lot of women don't. A woman in Kenya who's making two ends meet doesn't have that time or the resources, and they are the women that we would like to reach, including yourselves as well.
Absolutely. I think to the earlier point you made, one thing that I have learned, and I hope everybody stays away from, is Instagram or Vogue or Grazia is not medical knowledge. Please don't look at other people's doctor's Instagram videos to tell you what you should and shouldn't do about Instagram. Instagram is great for handbags, not so much for medical knowledge. Please don't do that. I think we all get sucked down that rabbit hole. And secondly, I think you touched on a great problem. Menopause seems to have become a rich woman's problem.
Privilege, I think, for many.
Yeah, it is a privilege if you can. I went through a phase where I was brilliantly employed and had private insurance and I had family support. But I went through a phase in life when, like I said, my career took a major bashing and I didn't have that private insurance. But you know what? You don't need that. The estrogen patches or the testosterone gels, which are typically some of the HRT, that is prescribed, you can get it from the pharmacy for about 9 to 10 pounds for a month or 6 weeks. You shouldn't have to pay a fortune. You shouldn't have to go to Harley Street in London if you are. Sorry, those are my references. Or, pay hundreds of pounds to a specialist menopause clinic. No, there is absolutely, and I think that's absolutely down to lack of knowledge that's out there.
Yeah. And also, I mean, it's a good point you touched, because I think in the UK, the government has made them available over the counter because of HRT shortages. But again, the due diligence now has to be done by the pharmacists, or they need that. You need that evidence. So if you can be an active participant in providing that knowledge to your pharmacist, or the side effects that you may have had when you started using some of these HRT medications, that can help. Then you're co-designing your care, as we like to say, with the pharmacist or with your GP. I have one more question. You touched on an important topic, which at least when I think you and I were growing up in India, sexual wellness was not a thing. It was not something that I think even as young girls, we were almost raised to not think about it. And it's something, at least I personally, I think I have grown into it as I have grown older. And that's why I love getting older, because you almost get into yourself as a woman. What was your husband, your partner's reaction, and how did you guys, it's a very important topic that we work with women on. How did you guys handle it? It's almost a partnership when you see what the challenge is in front of you. Anything you can share that you're comfortable to share?
I think you're absolutely right. I think it's the partnership. I think getting beneath the surface of the symptoms takes a very long time. So you see the brain fog, you see the irritation, you see the screaming, and that's like, oh, she just got mad, man, she. And you sort of think, oh, we spent 15 years together, this is it, had enough. You sort of mislabel your problems in a marriage, what is not psychological or a relationship issue, but essentially a physical issue, then gets very badly mislabeled. I am very lucky to have met and married a man who is extremely supportive. All his time, his attitude has been one of saying, how do we move ahead from here? How do we not fix you, but fix the situation? And going to the doctors, supporting with my career, paying my bills when I was out of job without, there's no question that we are a partnership. And I think at the heart of our relationship is our teamwork and our partnership. Doesn't matter who brings the money. It doesn't matter who's the one doing screaming. It doesn't have to be 50-50. We both put in 100%. And I think that's what survived and thrived us. I
absolutely love that. Yeah.
I think go on. I think when you're young girls, all of us want to marry a Prince Charming, someone preferably 6'4", with a yacht parked in the background. But then as you grow older, and you're right, growing older is a blessing because the alternative is dying. I think you appreciate the fact that a good marriage is really important for your health, your physical and mental health. A good relationship. I know marriage comes in many forms across.
Yeah. I really had goosebumps when you were saying that, Anu, because that sense of partnership is so important. And I think a lot of marriages that are unfortunately breaking up at the time, when you're in your middle life and you absolutely need more companionship than you did when you were in your 20s, is when both people are unable to, don't have the patience, don't have the persistence, as you rightly said, to get beneath the problem, get beneath the challenge. And I think we speak to a lot of men who are also our customers, who say, there are caring men around, like your husband, who want to support their partner. And I think it is so important for women, no matter what age they are in. I think somebody who's in their 20s or 30s who's listening to us, make sure you factor that in when you choose to be with a person, for the long haul. I've absolutely enjoyed this conversation. I know it has been so informative. Honestly, it has been just I can't, if I could show you my heart, it's like this big in size. It's so encouraging. And I hope it will help our viewers, help women. And it just makes a completely different impact when we hear it. When we hear it from someone such as yourself, who's brave, who's bold, who's courageous. So thank you so much for your time today. And yeah, we will certainly be in touch with you, and keep talking as we develop the Thara Care solution.
Thank you so much, Jyoti, and to everyone listening. My only wish for all of us is better health, long life, and happy lives. So take care of yourself, look after yourself, and bye-bye.
Thank you, Anu. That was Anuradha Satpute, viewers, and we will air this on YouTube shortly. Anu, thank you so much for your time. And this is
Pleasure.
Tara Care signing off from Menopause Science.